If you're over 60 and your doctor just celebrated getting your A1C down to a managed 7.0 with a lifelong prescription, you need to hear this. Because while you're being told that type 2 diabetes is a progressive, irreversible sentence, a landmark study published in The Lancet tracked thousands of participants, and what they found contradicts everything the mainstream medical system has told you about blood sugar management for the last 30 years. The study found that patients who focused on specific plant-based signaling molecules, the kind found in abundance in simple okra, didn't just manage their numbers. They saw a 40% higher rate of total clinical remission compared to those relying solely on standard pharmacological interventions. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you the exact 90-day protocol used by a woman the medical board said was an impossible case, the specific slime protein in okra that acts as a natural insulin sensitizer, and the one question you must ask your endocrinologist at your next appointment that will prove whether they are following the latest research or just following a decades-old billing manual. Before we go any further, I need you to do something very specific. Drop a comment right now with your current A1C number and how many years you've been told you'd be stuck with it. I am reading every single one of these because the data I'm about to share applies differently if you've been struggling for 5 years versus 20. This isn't just about a vegetable, it's about a fundamental betrayal of the science of healing, and the evidence is sitting right in your grocery store produce aisle. A 67-year-old woman named Martha walks into her endocrinologist's office for her quarterly checkup. She's done everything right, according to the standard American medical playbook. She takes her metformin religiously, she's replaced her butter with processed margarine, and she's dutifully managed her condition for 11 long years. The nurse takes her vitals and notes that her blood pressure is 120/80. Her doctor enters, looks at her chart, and beams with pride. He tells Martha she is a success story, because her A1C has stabilized at 7.2. He pats her on the shoulder and tells her to keep doing exactly what she's doing. On the surface, Martha is the ideal patient, but here is what the guidelines in the system don't account for: the hidden danger that follows this kind of managed success. While the doctor celebrates the numbers on the screen, Martha is quietly suffering from the phantom symptoms of a body that is still systematically failing. She feels like she's walking on broken glass every morning, due to neuropathy. She has a faint, persistent tingling in her fingers that her doctor dismissed as just a part of aging. The success the system is celebrating is actually a slow-motion tragedy. By only treating the symptom, the blood sugar number, and ignoring the underlying biological decay, the medical establishment has essentially signed Martha up for a lifetime of expensive refills, while her actual health continues to erode in the shadows. Martha was told her condition was a one-way street, a progressive decline that could only be slowed, never stopped. She left that office feeling like a good patient, yet she was more tired, more numb, and more dependent on medication than ever before. Everyone thought this was the best-case scenario. But Martha was about to discover a piece of evidence that would make her doctor's success story look like a complete failure of imagination. She was about to try something so simple, so inexpensive, that her medical team didn't even have a billing code for it. Why was Martha's doctor so quick to call a dangerous plateau a success? It isn't because he's a bad person, it's because he is a prisoner of a management model designed by the pharmaceutical lobby, not a remission model designed for human biology. To understand why your A1C isn't moving despite your best efforts, we have to look at the secondary signaling pathway. Most doctors are only taught to look at insulin and glucose, but a groundbreaking meta-analysis involving 22 separate clinical trials, recently highlighted in the journal Molecules, reveals that the real battle for blood sugar isn't fought with insulin alone. It's fought with myogenin and GLP-1 precursors. Here is the villain of our story, the standard of care guidelines. These guidelines focus almost exclusively on extinguishing the fire with synthetic drugs, while completely ignoring the oxygen that keeps the fire burning. The medical industry makes approximately $37 billion annually from diabetes management supplies and medications. There is a massive financial incentive to keep you managed at an A1C of 7.0 for 30 years, rather than showing you how to hit 5.4 and walk away from the pharmacy counter forever. This brings us to the okra. Scientists have identified a specific, highly concentrated polyphenolic compound in okra, known as isoquercetin. In a controlled 2021 study, researchers found that this specific molecule doesn't just lower blood sugar, it actually inhibits the enzyme alpha-glucosidase. This is the exact same mechanism used by expensive prescription starch blockers, but without the devastating gastrointestinal side effects or the $200 price tag. While the villain, the institutionalized medical system, tells you that your pancreas is simply burnt out, the peer-reviewed data tells a different story. Your cells aren't broken, they are just missing the specific chemical keys required to unlock the glucose gates. By drinking the water from macerated okra, you aren't just eating a vegetable, you are delivering a concentrated dose of rhamnogalacturonin, a polysaccharide that has been shown to restore the insulin signaling pathway in the liver. The reason you haven't heard this from your specialist is simple. You cannot patent the slime from a piece of okra. There is no sales representative visiting your doctor's office to promote a 90-day protocol that costs pennies a day. The system is rigged for management, but the biology is built for restoration. And as Martha was about to find out, once you bypass the villain and follow the science, the results become impossible, only to those who aren't looking at the data. To understand why Martha's doctor was stunned, we have to look at the okra mechanism, a process the medical community often overlooks because it doesn't involve a synthetic pill. While most diabetes treatments focus on forcing your pancreas to pump out more insulin, or forcing your liver to stop producing sugar, okra water works through a process called physiological adsorption. Think of your small intestine as a busy highway, where sugar molecules are speeding into your bloodstream. In a typical type 2 diabetic body, that highway is wide open, leading to those dangerous post-meal spikes that scar your arteries. But okra contains a unique, high molecular weight substance called rhamnogalacturonin. When you macerate okra in water overnight, you are extracting this compound into a bioavailable mucilage. Once ingested, this mucilage acts like a biological net, or a buffer zone, along the walls of your digestive tract. It doesn't just sit there, it physically traps glucose molecules, slowing down their absorption rate so significantly that your body can actually keep up with the processing. This is what we call the glycemic brake. By the time the sugar reaches your bloodstream, it's a slow, manageable trickle rather than a flood. But the science goes deeper. A study published in the Journal of Pharmacy and Bioallied Sciences revealed that the specific flavonoids in okra water, like quercetin 3-oogentiobioside, actually go to work on the gatekeepers of your cells, the GLUT4 transporters. And many of you watching this, those gates are rusted shut due to chronic inflammation. The compounds in okra act like a biological WD-40, increasing the expression of these transporters and allowing your cells to finally eat the sugar in your blood again. This is why Martha's A1C didn't just drop, it transformed. She wasn't just managing a symptom, she was using a plant-based signaling molecule to re-educate her cellular metabolism. You aren't just drinking veggie water, you are deploying a sophisticated, multi-targeted biological intervention that hits the 3 pillars of glucose control: absorption, transport, and sensitivity. This is the impossible reality that the standard medical model simply isn't equipped to explain. Now, I know what your doctor might say. They'll call this anecdotal or folklore. But the results Martha experienced aren't just a lucky break. They are backed by rigorous, peer-reviewed clinical data that rarely makes it into the 10-minute consultation window of a standard clinic visit. Let's look at the evidence stack. A pivotal study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology conducted a 90-day clinical evaluation on the glycemic effects of the specific Abelmoschus esculentus, that's the botanical name for okra, polysaccharides. The researchers didn't just look at a few people. They tracked the cellular response across a controlled group over 3 months. What they discovered was a statistical anomaly that the pharmaceutical industry would spend billions to replicate in a lab. The study found that the subjects using the concentrated okra extract showed a 30% reduction in fasting blood glucose levels and, more importantly, a significant decrease in HbA1c that outperformed the control group by a factor of 2. But here is the forbidden statistic that really shook the researchers. The group using the Okra protocol showed a marked restoration of the beta cell function in the pancreas. In the world of standard medicine, you are told your beta cells, the cells that produce insulin, are dying and can never come back. Yet, the data showed that by reducing oxidative stress through the unique antioxidant profile of okra water, specifically the isoquercetin and quercetin-3-O-gentile biocide, the pancreatic environment actually began to heal. This study confirms that Martha wasn't an impossible case. She was simply a patient who finally addressed the oxidative signaling that was keeping her pancreas in a state of shutdown. When the researchers measured the superoxide dismutase, SOD levels, which is your body's internal master antioxidant, the Okra group saw a massive spike. This isn't just about eating your vegetables. This is about a specific 90-day biological window, where the body, when given the correct plant-based signaling molecules, can move the A1C needle in a way that synthetic chemicals simply cannot match. The data is clear. The impossible is actually a documented, peer-reviewed clinical reality. Now, let's get into the exact 90-day protocol Martha used to achieve what her doctor called an impossible result. This is not about just throwing okra into a stew. That heat actually destroys the mucilage proteins we need to repair your insulin signaling. To get the clinical-grade benefit, you must follow the cold maceration method. Step 1. The preparation. Take 4 to 5 medium-sized fresh okra pods. Do not use frozen or pre-cut bags. Wash them thoroughly, then slice off the ends. The magic happens when you create a cross-section cut. Slice each pod into thin rounds, or split them lengthwise to expose the maximum surface area of the internal seeds and pulp. Step 2. The 12-hour extraction. Place the sliced okra into a glass mason jar, filled with 8 ounces of filtered, room-temperature water. Cover the jar and let it sit on your counter, not the fridge, overnight. This 12-hour window allows the rhamnogalacturonin to leach into the water, creating a thick, medicinal liquid. Step 3. The morning gatekeeper dose. Drink the entire 8-ounce glass first thing in the morning, on an empty stomach. You must do this at least 30 minutes before your coffee or breakfast. This creates that biological net we discussed in section 4, lining your digestive tract before any carbohydrates from your breakfast hit your system. The biohack for maximum potency. To increase the bioavailability of the isoquercetin, add a tiny pinch of Himalayan sea salt to the water before drinking. The trace minerals act as a transport catalyst, helping the okra's signaling molecules cross the intestinal barrier more efficiently. The 90-day rule. This is not a quick fix. You are re-educating your metabolism. Martha committed to this every single morning for 90 days. Why 90 days? Because that is the life cycle of a red blood cell. To see a true change in your A1C, you have to allow your body to cycle through a completely new generation of cells that have been protected by this glycemic brake. In the next section, I'm going to show you the neuropathy signal, the specific physical sign Martha felt in her feet at the 30-day mark that told her the protocol was working, long before she even went back to the lab for a blood test. You'll want to watch for this exact sensation. If you've spent years feeling like a difficult patient because your numbers wouldn't budge, or if you felt that deep, quiet anxiety every time you walked into a clinic, I want you to look at Martha one last time. At the 30-day mark of her 90-day journey, Martha noticed something she hadn't felt in years. The phantom, ice-cold sensation in her toes was being replaced by a steady, natural warmth. This is the neuropathy signal. It was the first sign that her microcirculation was returning, and that her blood was no longer thick with unmanaged glucose. By day 90, her A1C didn't just drop, it plummeted to a 5.6. Her doctor called it a medical miracle, an impossible anomaly. But you and I know the truth. It wasn't a miracle. It was biology. It was the result of a woman who stopped being a passive recipient of management and started being the CEO of her own cellular health. You have a choice today. You can continue down the path the system has paved for you, a path of escalating dosages, managed decline, and the constant fear of what the next lab report might say. Or, you can take this information, print out the studies I've linked in the description, and start your own 90-day protocol tomorrow morning. I want you to be the next impossible case. I want you to walk into your next appointment with the data in your hand and the confidence of someone who has reclaimed their metabolism. This isn't just about Okra, it's about breaking the cycle of medical betrayal and remembering that your body was designed to heal, not just to be medicated. Don't forget to check the comments to see the ages and stories of others starting this journey with you. We are building a community of people who refuse to accept progressive decline as their only option. This is Senior Health Blog. Evidence-based, no fear-mongering. Just the research your doctor should have shared with you years ago. If you've watched this far, you are no longer just a spectator. You are part of a growing movement of people who are refusing to let outdated medical guidelines dictate the quality of their golden years. But here is the reality. The algorithms that govern what you see online often suppress this kind of alternative data because it doesn't align with the high-spend pharmaceutical ad buys. This is why I need your help to break the management cycle. I want you to hit the share button right now and send this to at least one person you know who is currently struggling with a stuck A1C or the pain of neuropathy. By sharing this, you aren't just sending a video, you are providing a roadmap for someone who has likely been told for years that there is no way out. And remember, this is a 90-day journey. I want you to bookmark this video and come back to it. Many of you will start seeing changes in your energy levels and your morning readings within the first 14 days, but the real transformation, the impossible shift, happens at that 3-month mark. When you hit that milestone, I want you to return to this comment section and share your results. Your impossible story will be the evidence someone else needs to start their own journey. If you want to dive deeper into the specific science of how plant-based signaling can reverse the cellular rust of aging, make sure you've subscribed and click the notification bell. In our next session, we're going to look at the 3 common health foods that are actually spiking your insulin levels in secret, and how to swap them out for true metabolic healers. You have the data. You have the protocol. Now you have the power. This is a Senior Health Blog. Evidence-based. No fear-mongering. Just the research your doctor should have shared with you years ago. I'll see you in the next one.